Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. I want to go over the MLB games scheduled for Friday, May 10th, 2024. If you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Friday in Major League Baseball. First up, we see the Chicago Cubs taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Jameson Taillon and Jared Jones are your starters. The Pirates have really struggled offensively against right-handed pitching, and Taillon's in great form to start the season. His first 4 starts, all Cubs victories. He's got a 1.13 ERA. He's been solid on the road, and he wasn't really missing a lot of bats and earning a ton of strikeouts until his last game, where he had 7 strikeouts and 6 innings of shutout ball against the Milwaukee Brewers, a pretty solid lineup. So Taillon's in great form. I think he pitches well. On the other side, Jared Jones, though, also pitching really well this season. 2.63 ERA overall, but an even better 1.42 at PNC Park through 19 innings, 24 strikeouts at home. His control's been solid. He rarely misses outside the zone. He is beatable via the home run ball. That's where we've seen him get hurt a few times this year, giving up the 7 home runs in 41 innings. But for me, I still expect a pretty low-scoring game. When you look at the Cubs in the last couple of weeks against righties, they've also struggled. So give me the under in Cubs-Pirates. Next up, the Houston Astros taking on the Detroit Tigers. Framber Valdez and Casey Mize are your starters. Framber struggled in that last game against the Mariners, but that's a Mariners team that's been able to get to him the last few times that he's faced them. So I don't really put too much weight into that one. I still think Framber, one of the better options in this Astros rotation. I think he bounces back here. And Casey Mize giving up those 5 runs against the Yankees in the last start. Wasn't impressed by that game. He gave up 9 base hits and a home run to go with it. Now, he was pitching pretty well before that start, but he also had a pretty weak strength of schedule. Now, the Astros, while they've really been disappointing this season, it hasn't really been because of the offense. It's been the pitching staff, the starting rotation, and the bullpen especially. But I still think I like their offense against Casey Mize in this matchup. And I think this could be a good series for Houston. So I'm going to go with the Astros on the money line on the road. Next up, the New York Yankees taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Clark Schmidt and Taj Bradley are your starters. Of course, Bradley making his first start at the Major League level this year. He pitched at the majors last year for quite a large sample size, 104 2/3 innings. He struggled quite a bit with the home run ball, 23 home runs given up. It was a big reason why his ERA was at 5.59. He had great strikeout numbers, but the walks and the home runs really hurt him. And while in a small sample size in the minor leagues this season, he's had pretty good per-nines, I still worry about it going up against this Yankees lineup that has crushed right-handed pitching this year. Clark Schmidt on the other side has been one of the more profitable pitchers in baseball. The Yankees have only lost 1 of his starts, and even in that game, he pitched well, 5 2/3 innings, 1 run against the Orioles of all teams in a close 2-0 ball game. So Schmidt's in great form. He already faced this Rays lineup. He went 5 1/3, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts, gave up a lot of base hits and a home run. So I don't think it's going to be a spotless outing. I mean, the Rays have really improved at Tropicana Field. They play their best baseball there, but I still like the Yankees in this matchup to get the job done in the end. So I'm going to go with the Yankees on the money line. Next up, we see the Arizona Diamondbacks taking on the Baltimore Orioles. Brandon Pfaadt and Cole Irvin are your starters. Now, the last start for Brandon Pfaadt was very concerning because, it was 6 innings of 10-hit baseball. And it's one thing, he didn't walk anybody, didn't give up a single home run. Sometimes you see pitchers just get unlucky. The dribblers get past the infield. There's some bloop base hits, some, maybe errors from the defense. We saw 2 unearned runs in that game against San Diego, but it was more than just that from Brandon Pfaadt, and that's why it was concerning. The expected batting average for San Diego in that game was very, very steep. They had a lot of sharp contact in that ball game, and it was, especially in the early innings, the average exit velocity was really high for the Padres in terms of their base hits. So that's a concern for me going forward, especially facing an Orioles lineup that's been one of the best in baseball. So while I may not love Pfaadt in this spot, I still think the Diamondbacks are going to back him up offensively here against Cole Irvin, who's pitched well this year, but he is a lefty. The Diamondbacks have crushed lefties this season, and I expect major regression going forward for Irvin. He's faced a really weak strength of schedule recently. The Royals, the Athletics, the Reds. The Reds we've talked about has been one of the worst lineups in baseball against lefties recently. The Royals have also struggled against lefties. He faced the Red Sox earlier in the season, another team with a really high strikeout rate against lefties. So to me, this could be a tough matchup here for Irvin. Even if Pfaadt gives up a few runs, I think the Diamondbacks back him up. So I'm leaning towards the over, but also Arizona on the money line. Next up, we see the Minnesota Twins taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. We're going to see Joe Ryan and Yusei Kikuchi as your projected starters. Both of these starting pitchers have racked up the quality starts, but, more so Joe Ryan, who's got his last 3 games, all quality starts, 5 of his first 7 starts. And when you pitch this well and you hand it over to one of the best bullpens in baseball that the Twins have, you really give got your team a really good chance to win every time you're on the mound. So I think Ryan gives another quality start here against a Blue Jays team that's been disappointing offensively against right-handed pitching. And Kikuchi, while he's pitched well and he's in good form, he's facing a Twins lineup that's number 1 in baseball in OPS against lefties in the last 2 weeks. So, the Twins, this was a team that had a losing record early because their offense struggled so much. The pitching staff was fine, but the offense was one of the worst in baseball. That offense has picked it up, and now this is a dangerous team in the American League. I'm going to go with the Minnesota Twins on the money line this one. Next up, we see the Atlanta Braves taking on the New York Mets. Charlie Morton and Jose Quintana are your starters. It was a pretty tough game for me because the Mets were really competitive in that first series at Truist Park against Atlanta. This is a big NL East rivalry. The Braves have been great at home, but they're only a game above 500 on the road. So, I think this is going to be a competitive series yet again. But I'm going to lean towards Atlanta, at least in this first game. Charlie Morton's in great form right now. His last 3 starts, 4 earned runs combined in 19 innings. So he went 6 innings at least in the last 3 games against some really tough lineups. The Rangers, the Guardians, and the Dodgers. The Guardians do a great job of limiting strikeouts. They're really pesky. The Dodgers, we know that they're one of the best lineups in baseball. And the Rangers, of course, the defending World Series champs. So Morton's in great form against tough teams. Now, he struggled a bit against the Mets in that last game on April 8th, but I think he bounces back. Jose Quintana, it's just really tough to have a lot of faith in his game after that last start against the Rays. I know it was on the road and he returns to Citi Field where he's been better, but it was 2 2/3 of 10 hit, 8 earned run baseball. A couple of starts back against the Giants, he gave up 5 earned runs on 7 base hits. And even in that game against Atlanta where the Mets went on to win it in a blowout 16-4, Quintana wasn't excellent in that game. And he gave up 3 runs in 5 1/3 innings. He only had 4 strikeouts, 2 walks and 5 hits as well. I think the Braves get to him. I think the Braves win this game. So give me Atlanta on the money line. Next up, we see the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Miami Marlins. Ranger Suarez and Trevor Rogers are your starters. To me, this is too much of a lopsided pitching matchup. I got to go with the Phillies and lay the 1.5 runs. Suarez is your early season, Cy Young, one of the contenders right now in the National League, is 6-0 with a 1.72 ERA, 46 Ks in 47 innings, the best whip in baseball at .72. He's facing a very weak Marlins lineup. I think he pitches well. Rogers just doesn't have it right now. 8 earned runs and 2 home runs in that last game against the Oakland A's. That was that 20-4 blowout loss. And the Marlins have lost a majority of his starts, including all 5 of the last 5 games. And they lost via the run line as well. There were more than 2 run losses, or 2 or more run losses in all those games. So I got to go with the Phillies in this one, lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Washington Nationals taking on the Boston Red Sox. Patrick Corbin and Tanner Houck are your starters. Now, we've backed the Nationals plenty of times this season, and they've done very well for us. They are one of the more profitable teams in baseball to start the year, but this is just not the particular matchup that I'd want to be on Washington, as Corbin has struggled this year with that ERA above 6. He's been even worse on the road, actually far worse. 8.85 ERA in 20 1/3 innings away from Nationals Park, giving up 35 base hits, 7 walks, only 13 strikeouts, 23 total runs, and 20 of those were earned. And now you're facing you're a lefty at Fenway Park, which is already pretty tough to begin with. While the Red Sox numbers against lefties have not been great, I still think they get to Corbin. And Houck has been excellent this year. Even at Fenway, he's been solid, 2.11 ERA. The Nationals are a strong lineup, but against righties recently, they haven't been that great. So I think Houck does enough here for the Red Sox to win this game, cover the run line. Give me Boston laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Chicago White Sox. Garrett Crochet and Carlos Carrasco are your starters. Garrett Crochet quietly starting to improve his game. His last 2 starts, 11 innings of work, 3 earned runs, 13 strikeouts, only the 1 walk. Now, the home run ball is still a bit of a concern, and against the Guardians team, it's got pretty good power numbers against lefties. You got to watch out for that, but I still think Crochet is the much better option to start this game, at least. And when compared to Carlos Carrasco, who's got that ERA just under 6 overall this year, but an even an ERA above 7 on the road in 17 2/3 innings with 9 walks to go with it. His control's been way off on the road. I think Chicago competes in the first 5 innings. I like them to have a lead at the end of the first 5. I don't trust that bullpen, though. This is one of the more lopsided matchups when it comes to a bullpen. The Guardians could have the best bullpen in baseball. The White Sox very well could have the worst. So I'm going to go with the White Sox in the first 5 innings on the money line. Next up, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Lance Lynn for St. Louis, no official starter for the home team. I don't hate this matchup for Lance Lynn, even though he's been, rather inconsistent this year. He's been pretty solid on the road with a 1.13 ERA and 16 innings of work. The Brewers' numbers against righties have not been as strong as they were at the beginning of the season, the very beginning of the year. In the last couple of weeks, they're ranked 24th in team OPS. They have a 32.3% strikeout rate, and they're also near the bottom in isolated power. So I think Lance Lynn puts together a solid start. I think the Cardinals bullpen, while it's been, like I said, a disappointing season for the Cardinals overall this year, Not really because of the bullpen. I mean, their bullpen's got a 3.69 ERA, not too shabby, and the second best xFIP in the league. So if Lance Lynn can put together 5-6 strong innings, hand it over to the bullpen, I think St. Louis has a solid chance to win this ball game. We'll see who the official starter is for Milwaukee, but if this is a bullpen game for the Brewers, I think St. Louis has the advantage. So I'm going to go with St. Louis on the money line. Next up, we see the Texas Rangers taking on the Colorado Rockies. Austin Gomber for Colorado, no official starter for the Rangers. Austin Gomber's actually pitched pretty well this season for the Rockies. He's got a 3.79 ERA. He's actually got a little bit better numbers at Coors Field, believe it or not. 22 innings, 9 earned runs at home. Now, the strikeout numbers aren't the best. The walks and home runs, not too bad, but I do expect regression going forward. And the problem is, even though Gomber's kept the Rockies in games, recently, they're not really winning those games. The bullpen is either blowing it or the offense has just not been there. And, the Rockies have lost each of his last 5 starts now, and a lot of those were pretty low-scoring games. But now you see the Rangers' offense really starting to pick it up recently, even against lefties. So, to me, while the Rangers' bullpen, not my favorite in the league, I still think it's going to be the better option in this game, and the Rangers' bats certainly. So, I'm going to go with the Rangers and lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, the Kansas City Royals taking on the Los Angeles Angels. This one, 9:38 Eastern on Apple TV. Alec Marsh returns from the 15-day IL, and Griffin Canning's on the other side for the Halos. Now, Marsh has been one of the more profitable pitchers in baseball because the Royals are 5-0, perfect 5-0 in his first 5 games this year, and that includes 2 victories over the Orioles in the 2 starts he had against them. Now, Marsh, a little bit concerning, returning from the 15-day IL, and the Angels' offense starting to pick it up recently, but I still think Marsh keeps the ball on the ground, limits sharp contact. If we can do that yet again here, the Royals have a really good shot at winning this ball game. Until we see anything otherwise or we start to see him regress, I got to roll with the Royals here. Griffin Canning has struggled at Angel Stadium in particular. Got that ERA at 6.75, and he's got 10 walks in 14 2/3 innings. So the control's really been a problem. 10 of his 13 walks have been in those 14 2/3 at Angel Stadium. We've seen the same issue with Jose Soriano in terms of the walks and the control issues. So I'm going to go with the Royals in this game on the money line. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Dodgers taking on the San Diego Padres. Tyler Glasnow and Michael King are your starters. The Dodgers took care of business this week against the Marlins at Dodger Stadium, even though a couple of those games, the early innings, or at least the first inning, got a little bit dicey for LA. Their offense prevailed, and the pitching staff really stepped it up when it needed to. Tyler Glasnow has been one of those guys that has just been excellent. 6-1 with a 2.7 ERA, even better numbers on the road with a 1.5 ERA in 18 innings of work. He's in great form, giving up 2 earned runs or fewer in 4 of his last 5 starts, racking up the strikeouts, 63 Ks in 50 innings of work. We mentioned Ranger Suarez as a potential Cy Young candidate. Glasnow is probably going to be the favorite right now in the National League, and if he continues to pitch this way, especially earning those strikeouts, he'll be the guy by the end of the season. When you look at Michael King, he's been very inconsistent. We've mentioned how hard it's been to read Michael King this year because we've seen really good outings like the last one against the Diamondbacks, and we've seen some rough ones like the previous 2 games against the Rockies and Phillies. Their control's been a bit of a concern, but last game, no walks given up in 6 innings, exactly what you want to see. But for me, inconsistency and facing this Dodgers lineup is a pretty, a recipe for disaster. And we already struggled against the Dodgers back on April 12th, 5 innings, 7 total runs. Now the Padres went on to win that game, but against Glasnow, I don't think it's going to be the case. Give me the Dodgers in this one. I'm going to take them on the money line and lay the 1.5 runs. In our next game, it's the Oakland Athletics taking on the Seattle Mariners. Now, it's going to be Paul Blackburn for Oakland, but the Mariners either going to go with Brian Wu or Bryce Miller. Those are the 2 options I'm seeing out there. Wu would be making his first start at the major league level this year. He pitched there last year, of course, 87 2/3 innings, a 4.21 ERA, and in AAA so far this year, 11 1/3 of shutout baseball with 17 strikeouts and no walks to go with it. So he's been excellent in AAA Tacoma to start the year, and Bryce Miller's also been excellent at the major league level this year. So I think Seattle's got 2 good options to start this game, and it shows you how dangerous this team is because of their rotation being as lights out as it's been, and not just this year but the last few years. The bullpen also very strong, and for me, I like the Mariners to win this ball game. Paul Blackburn pitched well this year, but mostly at home. On the road, his numbers have not been great. An ERA of 5.63 and 16 innings of work, 10 earned runs, and 4 home runs to go with it. I'm going to go with the Seattle Mariners in this ball game and lay the 1.5 runs. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the San Francisco Giants. Andrew Abbott and Logan Webb are your starters. I like the under in the first 5 innings in the full game, and this one, you got San Francisco coming off the Coors Field series. They played in Coors Field against the Rockies on Thursday afternoon. They turn around to play Friday night. They don't get any days off in between. We like to fade offenses coming off the Coors Field Series because it usually takes time to adjust from that altitude difference. And I expect I expect the Giants offense to be weak in not only in this game, but potentially this series. Not crazy about the offense to begin with. And then you got the Cincinnati Reds, who are also really struggling offensively right now. Now, more so against lefties, but Logan Webb's been excellent at Oracle Park throughout his career and so far this year. Look at his home and road splits this season. On the road, in 24 and a third innings, he's got a 5.92 ERA. At home in 22 innings, so right around a 50-50 mix between home and road starts or innings. He's got a .82 ERA in those games with a 225 opponent's batting average compared to 317 on the road. In Cincinnati, like I said, struggling offensively. I think Webb puts together another strong outing at home. Give me the under in the first 5, the under in the full game. And that's it. Those are the games for Friday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe and put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.